And I'm like,
Hi guys, my name is Vinny. Today we're going to be doing. I know you see first-time homebuyer whole situation right there. Today is going to focus on business owners, either starting their business, they own their business, and they're looking to use the income from that business to purchase their next property. So we have a couple of people here, but we also have people watching out there. So if you have a question that you're watching right now and you're like, hey, I just want to know blah blah blah, feel free to comment below. There's some information if you want to basically text, all that kind of good stuff right there. But interactive as much as possible. If you have questions, if you want to reach out to us directly, you can text us. 858-345-7829 is my number. David and Julie are going to be up here in a second. They'll go over their numbers and get a little insight about what they do. A little gist of it: Julie, action coach. Help you if you haven't. Here she is right here. All right. She's going to help you know how to build your business, maximize your business, grow your business, use that income. David over here.
boom, just joined you live. Just jumped the shark, but I'm here.
Right there. Okay. So he's going to basically kind of walk you through how to show on your books to afford that property that you're going to purchase. And then I'm going to help you find that property. Yes, we're foreshadowing to the future. If you're already there, maybe you jump past basically Julie, but you can always grow your business a little bit farther. Hey, maybe you already have basically all cash. You might have to jump past David, but hey, it's always better to use someone else's money instead of your money. Hey, and you might have a property off market that you just need some guidance with to help you with the process. Hey, that's why we're here. So we're gonna go over this. Julie, you want to take it away first? Perfect. All right, Julie.
All right. Hello, everybody. We are live from San Diego, sunny, beautiful San Diego. Again, I am Coach Julie. I am a certified action coach, business coach. A little background, I actually sold my first company a few years ago. I started as an elementary school teacher turned entrepreneur, grew my first business from one client in San Diego to nationwide, a solopreneur into hundreds of employees, providing thousands of jobs every year, and ultimately sold that business. And now I take the skills and frameworks that I used to build that first business, and I help other business owners to build a business that can work for them, not because of them. So I'm super excited to be here today and be here with these two amazing experts to talk real estate. My purpose here today is to help shift your thinking. Right now, your business is an asset. You consider your business an asset, right? But in thinking further, how can you use that asset to help you continue to grow your portfolio of assets and investments? So that's why we're here today. All right. And the first thing that we're going to talk about is what we call the entrepreneurial ladder. Okay. The majority of business owners, when they come to me, they are here on the self-employed rung, right? This is where you are wearing most of the hats. You're paying yourself a paycheck. You're doing the marketing, you're doing the sales, you're doing the finance, you're doing the hiring, you are doing the operations, the execution, you're serving clients, right? You have a job. And when you have a job, essentially, does anybody know the acronym for job?
Just out of
Broke.
just out of broke.
Thank you. Just over broke, right? Your goal may be to pay the bills.
Can
But
I
what-
make?
Yes.
I'm going to add something for Julie in here. Do you know the most dangerous thing you can give a man, since we're going to entrepreneurship and owning your own business? It's a W-2 and heroin.
Thank you for your input. On that note,
That's why you should work for yourself.
that's right. On that note, Essentially then, once you start to hire people, you can move up the rung to manager, right? Where this is where you have people who are helping you to execute some of the tasks that used to be on your plate. They may be overseeing other people. But ultimately, where we want to get to is this owner investor level. And the most difficult jump to make is from self-employed to owner, because what needs to happen in between is there needs to be people. It can't be reliant on you. Okay. And I'm going to walk you through the 6 steps that are going to take you up this rung. But ultimately today, David and Vinny are going to be helping to show you where this investor rung and even this owner rung can help you continue to build your portfolio, to help you start to create that passive income, to start to create wealth, which is what your business is designed to do, okay? So let's take a look at the 6 steps to build a business. So this is where we go up, 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 these steps where we get to that owner investor level where you can get passive income. And hopefully you can see these okay, but I will be talking about each one of them, or feel free to take a screenshot, okay? So first we've got mastery. Mastery is where you eliminate the chaos. This is where you know your numbers, you know where you're going, you know where you want to take the business, you know what done looks like, okay? You have that idea or that mapped out. Your delivery is consistent. And you know your time, where your time is going, how the delivery is going, how long each thing takes in your business. But you have mastered your time, your destination, your money. You understand the finances, what your most profitable products and services are, and where you're going, okay? Because then ultimately we get into niche or niche, depending on where you're joining in from. But niche is where we get that predictable cash flow, okay? Our marketing works. And we want to look at mastery first, because if you don't know which products and services are the most profitable or that are the most popular, that sell the best, right? How do you know what then to market for or to whom to market to, okay? We want to make sure that we have profit there. So getting into your predictable cash flow, your marketing works. Because then we can get into leverage. And leverage is all about systems, okay? It's all about every single thing that you do or that your team does in your business has a system. And the systems run the business. The people run the systems. So when you start to get this cash flow coming in, you can start to leverage your time with systems and moving up to team. Because again, those systems in your business, the people, your team, run the systems. This is where you get that structure for growth, where you can start to take those 2 weeks off for vacation without your laptop, without your phone, without answering to anybody, and just enjoy yourself. This is where you can essentially take 2 months off, like I did, for maternity leave, after I had my son, because the people were running the systems. And that year that I took 2 months off was the first year that we hit 7 figures. So shows you a lot there, right? And then once you have your team, your structure for growth, you can get into, this is where you get a general manager or an operations coordinator, somebody essentially an integrator, depending on the language that you use, but somebody who can come in and essentially run the show and ensure that everything is happening the way it's supposed to be happening and that the business is profitable while you take your 2-week vacation and or invest in property, whatever that looks like for you. And ultimately results. The synergy and results in business is where you, the business owner, strive to be. This is where the business can work without you. This is where you can start to get passive income to put towards property, to start, purchasing and buying properties. You can sell the business. One of my clients recently sold her business and she used the proceeds for down payment on her first home. So depending on what your goals are, and this is where business coaching comes in, it's my job to ask you the right questions to get you to have more clarity on what does that look like for you personally. And then we design the business to fuel those personal goals. So ultimately you can, get into your own continued personal growth? Is there another business that you want to invest in or start? Because once you can run one business successfully without you and profitably, you can run any business, okay? And so any questions in the audience? All right, any questions live on the 6 steps? All right.
They'd be up here.
Okay, that'll pop up on the chat box.
All right, so again, take a screenshot of this, but essentially what I'm going to show you now is the 5 proven ways to increase your profit. Because where the profit comes in is where you can put towards your properties or your investments, your passive income, whatever that looks like for you. And David's going to talk more about that specifically in real estate. But for our purposes today, when clients come to me, they say they want more customers, more sales or revenue, more profit. And I let them know you can't have these things because they are results. They are results of what we call the 5 ways. So where we're looking at specifically in this formula is in the 6 steps, we're looking at across the board, we're looking at niche, we're looking at leverage and systems, and ultimately looking at how do we start to measure what we need to be measuring in our business to boost our bottom line while also buying our time back, making sure we're profitable, making sure we have a really great team, our customers are served, we're attracting the right people, okay? So first we have, in the 5 ways, we've got the number of leads, okay? These are the people who are interested in working with you. And a lead is not a prospect, right? A lead is somebody who has reached out, called, clicked, set up a call, set that first appointment, okay? They are interested in doing business with you. So if you're not already tracking these numbers, a great place to start, a great time to start is now, okay? And some of you may be tracking some of these loosely, or you have an idea, but really getting a benchmark of where you are, where you need to be to ultimately have the things that you want to have, okay? So we want to look at the number of leads. How many people have called, clicked, written, set up an appointment, and you decide what is a lead. And then we multiply that by our conversion rate. So the conversion rate is the number of those leads that have turned into paying customers. So for example, if you have 100 leads come in a week and 25 of those convert to new customers or new clients, that's a 25% conversion rate. And that gives you, 25 new customers. Well, where more profitability comes in is in this next phase, where you have systems, you have marketing strategies, you have tools to get your current clients to do more business with you. So on average, how many transactions per year, per quarter, per week, per month, however you want to break it down, but looking at that number, on average, do your customers do business with you? It could be, some do 2 times a year, some do 6 times a year. But you want to look at what the average is, because we look at the average to see where we can improve. And then how much are they spending when they do business with you? So, and I'm going to plug in some numbers here in just a minute. But how do we, is it time to raise your prices? When was the last time you raised your prices? Is it getting current clients to do more business with you and spend more? Is there an upsell? Do your clients know everything that you do? At Action Coach, we have 70 plus different ways for these various 5 ways, each of these various 5 ways, so hundreds of different ways. But here we have then our revenue. So we get the number of customers times how often they do business with us on average, times how much they spend on average when they do business with us. That gives us our revenue. That gives us the result of revenue, more money, more sales. And then we multiply that times our profit margin, which ultimately gives us our actual profit, okay? So you'll see these in red, customers, revenue, profit. Those are all results of the 5 ways. The 5 ways, we've got number of leads, conversion, number of transactions, average dollar sale, and profit margin. For those of you who can't see this, hopefully you can hear me. But what I want to do now is I want to plug in some numbers for you, just to give you an idea of how this works in a business. So I've got some data here. I'm gonna pull this forward so y'all can see. All right, make sure the lights. Oh, here we go. Okay, here we go. So this is for a small business, okay? So this particular business owner or their staff has pulled these numbers for them, right? They have benchmarks for where they're at with each of these 5 ways. So on average, they're bringing in 4,000 leads and converting 25% of those leads, which gives them 1,000 customers, okay? Those 1,000 customers do business with them, say twice a year on average, and they spend $100 every time they do business with them, which gives this business $200,000 in revenue. They've got a 25% net profit margin. That's the bottom line after you've had your cost of goods and your operating expenses, gives you 25%. So this gives them a profit of $50,000. Okay. Now I'm going to show you something really cool here. We're going to look at if we can do 10% better in each of these 5 ways. I want to show you what happens. And now when I work with my clients, we don't do 10% better necessarily on every single one all at once. It's let's look at where there's the most opportunity for growth. And maybe we do, we focus on a 20% increase in leads, or we look at a 20% increase in average dollar sale. We would decide that now, but this is to give you an idea of if you were to do 10% better, 10% improvement across each of these, here's what's going to happen, okay? So we're going to do 10% better in leads, which gives us 4,400 leads, okay? Or this is up, okay. And then we're going to do 27.5% increase. So that's 2.5%. So 10% better, 27.5% in conversion. I hope everybody can see this. All right. Which gives us the result of 1,210 new customers. Okay. Now, those 1,210 new customers are doing 10% more business. So they're doing an average of 2.2 transactions every time they do, or every year. And they're spending 10% better. They're spending $110 every time they do business, okay? Which is going to give us close to $300,000 in revenue, or close to another $100,000 in revenue, okay? Now, we're going to increase our profit margin. Maybe we increase our prices. Maybe we implement some systems that saves us time and gives us more efficiency. Maybe we cut some, subscriptions that we don't necessarily use very often, but how can we increase this? Again, 27.5%, 10% better, gives us 80,000. Plugged in these numbers earlier, so I wouldn't have to do math right now. Gives us $80,525 plus in profit, an increase of $30,000. Okay, if you are increasing these by 10% better across the board all at the same time, and you do that, it's always going to give you an increase of 46% revenue and 61% profit. So I ask you, those of you who are participating, those of you here, would you like to see $80,000 in your profit account?
Yeah, shortchange myself. I'm going for 1%.
Okay.
I shortchanged myself. I've been going for 1% improvement. 10% improvement would be a massive pay raise for me
There you go.
in my business.
Thank you for sharing. What would you do with an extra $30,000 in profit? What would you do with $80,000 in your profit account? And again, this is a smaller size business, right? But this is where David and Vinny come in. What are you going to do? What could you do with that extra 80,000, 100,000, 500,000? And how can you implement that in a way that it protects your wealth, it protects your future, and you could really start to build on what you've created, right?
How many of your coaching people get these results?
All of my coaching.
Say the question.
Oh, sorry. I had a question. I had someone ask how many of my clients get these kinds of results. That's a very good question. So as I mentioned, we wouldn't necessarily work on 10% better. This is just an example at the same time. But what we start with is benchmarks. So I'm glad you asked that, because I actually have a tool for those of you here today. And for those of you that are watching live, or if you're watching the recording, I have a tool that you can fill in for your business to start creating these benchmarks in your 5 ways and look at where do you want to be. So if you need X% down on a house or a property, and you need to get there, what does that look like for your business? And that's where I come in to help you with the strategies to get there. But I have a tool that you can use to get your own benchmarks to see what kind of growth, what kind of opportunity is in your business. My clients on average see anywhere 30+% increase in revenue and or profit, depending on what we're working on and things like that. I have one client that had a 60% plus increase in profit in the first year of working together. But on average, we're looking at like 30+% growth. Great
Everyone
question.
could use that increase.
Yeah.
The cost of inflation right now.
So
Everything all around.
So at Action Coach, we have a phrase, BFOs, right? And what it stands for is blinding flashes of the obvious. So in this time that I've had with you today, I hope that you picked up at least 3 to 5 BFOs, blinding flashes of the obvious, those aha moments that you can look at in your business to start creating a business that can work without you, better business, and how to actually use this to be able to buy your first property, start investing in property, or whatever the plan is for you. So thank you. David, you're up.
Come on now. I think that was pretty awesome, everybody out there in internet land. Raise the roof. We raised the roof here. With the current prices right now, everybody could use a 10% pay increase. I know I could, because I can hardly go to the grocery store now and buy chocolate milk. It's too expensive.
61% pay increase.
61% pay increase. Can you imagine that? We did do the thing we mentioned before, the most dangerous thing you can give people, our man. That was a dad joke, in case you're wondering. So let's jump in to what we're going to look at today. Boom. So I'm going to step aside for a minute so you can just take a look at that. So that says $3 million net worth in 9 years. I'm actually going to stand over here. $3 million? Who wants to be worth $3 million in 9 years? Because chances are you're not going to be able to save that money. Your job's not going to pay you that money. And even if you have the best investment account and money manager out there, that ROI is going to be massive. So we mentioned this first slide is how can you actually become worth $3 million in 9 years? And there's a couple ways you could do it. Real estate's one of the easiest ways to do it with a simple game plan. That's what me and Vinny are going to talk about today. We make this interactive. You got questions, concerns, hit us on the chat. And that's it. We're going to jump right into it. Boom. Beginning your home ownership plans. So for those of you out there who have thought, I'm tired of making my landlord rich. I'm tired of paying the man every month. And actually, I want to get ahead. So one of the first things to think about when you want to become a homeowner is evaluate your career, evaluate your growth. That is, how much of a raise are you going to get each year? Then understand your budgeting habits. Understand, do you even do 401k contribution? Do you have an emergency fund? Do you have lifestyle and vacation goals? How much money do you think you'll need to put down? And ideally, what's your comfortable monthly mortgage payment? Because most of the times when people come over to us and ask, oh, I want to buy a house, I want a mortgage payment of $3,000. Their current rent payment was $2,500. Everyone adds $500. when you're buying your first home, unfortunately, it's going to be more expensive than your current rent, unless you have a gigantic down payment. So let's jump into this really quick. How do you go about starting the overall process of buying a home? Because it does seem rather intimidating. Because A, you have to pick a realtor, B, you have to pick a lender, and C, you're going to get financially undressed to show all the assets you got, which not everyone likes that idea. So let's start with position one, which is picking a lender. So a couple easy ways to do this. Number one, get a referral from a trusted source. Talk to your good real estate agent, emphasize good and great, not your mediocre 80% realtor. This guy's great, top 5%er.
Woo woo.
Don't go with the 80% real estate agents because they also work at Starbucks, full disclosure. Nothing against Starbucks.
All right, I got to chime in really fast. So this is a crazy stat that for everyone here and you guys out there, that in the last year, 50% of all realtors didn't sell one piece of business. Then on next to that, after that 50%, you have another 17 and some change only sell one piece of business. So you're talking about roughly 70% of all realtors have only sold less than one piece of business. So I just want to throw that out there to just be aware of that. That's a big number right there. So maybe it's not as great of being only the 5%, but still, anyways, just throwing that there.
It's actually really great, Vinny. And you know, the average realtor sells what, 4 homes per year? Would that be correct?
Yeah.
So just as a side note, in case any of you are wondering, I also do brain surgery 4 times a year. If you want to hire me to do your brain surgery, probably not a good idea. Anyway. So let's go back to our slides right here really quick. So finding a lender, talk to your realtor, talk to a trusted source, and then you're going to do what everyone does now. They go to that brand new website called Google the person's name, Yelp them, look them up. If you look up your lender online and they don't show up, that's a problem because that means they're not doing business. You want to verify the person exists. Step 3, you actually want to check out the loan officer's number to make sure how long they've been in the business. You want to verify all their experience, which will be online now because everything is online. And this is a great way to put you in the right steps to pick the right person and then interview them. Make sure you like them. Securing a new home loan. Now, most of the time when people hear loan application, they get all choked up. It's terrible. We do have to pull your credit. We have to look at everything. And so let's dive into the first step after you picked your loan officer. It's doing a loan application. So what really is the loan application? Ideally, it's us looking at the last two, everything's in twos. Last 2 years in job, last 2 years W-2s, 2 current pay stubs, 2 years tax returns. So we're going to look at that. Then we're also going to pull your credit. So up. I see I got a chat message. Does pulling my credit make my credit score go down? No. But if you do pull your credit more than 5 to 6 times in a 30-day window by lenders, the 7th time you pull it, it will go down. So when you do get your credit pulled, it is a hard pull. Step number, and we'll go into more stuff about credit later for those of you who want more answers, but there is a hard pull and a soft pull on credit, and it does have to be done by a lender to actually help you the best that we can. Step 3.
What's the difference between a Credit Karma and a hard pull?
So, question from someone in the audience is, what's the difference between freecreditreport.com, creditkarma.com, Experian.com, all these other free sites? The difference is this. When you look at your FICO scores on those sites, they're for car loans, credit card loans, for smaller amounts of money. So your credit scores are always better. When you do a mortgage in-file credit report, it's the most restrictive that we have because we're going to lend you a couple $100,000. So if you're looking at your bank that sends you your credit score, freecreditreport.com, Credit Karma, Experian, TransUnion, Equifax, all those, your credit will be way better than when you do the mortgage report. And then when we do the hard pull, I mentioned hard pull and soft pull, they're totally different. A soft credit report can be done by certain lenders now. I do them. It only pulls one bureau. It leaves the other 2 blank, but it enables you to have a generalized idea for those people who are really worried about their credit. So when you talk to a lender, you can tell them, hey, I'd like a soft pull, or the full hard pull credit is actually better. Does that help you out?
Yeah.
So step 3, with the lender is going to review your pay stubs, bank returns, bank statements, your credit, your overall earning history. We're going to look at everything to make sure that we're setting you up for success, not for failure, by giving you this new debt. Because it is a debt, but not all debt is bad. Some debt's really good. And actually, mortgage debt is good. Okay, let's start with the big picture here. Now that we've kind of jumped in from interviewing your lender, what's needed, doing the application, to what are we really going to look at here on a bigger picture? Well, first of all, do we need to do credit repair on your credit report? How can we optimize your score better? How can we work with you and your realtor as a team to set you up for more success by having better credit? What's your future income outlook? Are you getting pay raises? Or are you being eliminated by ChatGTP? Because some of you are. And buy versus rent analysis. That's another great tool that you can talk to Vinny and talk to myself and go, does it make sense for me to buy compared to rent? And then where do I start breaking even? I'm going to jump in here, Vinny, real quick.
This is also going to be something that you can also bring on with Julie, right, as your coach, because there is the ability to buy a mixed use property. So you buy a property that's for your commercial space, also for your residential space. So that could be an option right there. So you can kind of offset that workspace right there in your purchase. So it's just something to think about. It's not always about, David, I know, but it's also about Julie and myself and all of us. So anyways.
So now we jump back in here to home factors. What are your biggest wants and goals? How do you define a successful home purchase? A lot of people say the purchase is successful because I got the house. That's actually wrong. A lot of realtors and lenders are just going to sell you something without analyzing your goals. So myself and Vinny, we're looking at bigger pictures here. And Vinny, we're going to have you jump up here real quick because these are some important things that really go into play when a realtor is helping you look for houses. And it's all of this right here. Could you touch on that really quick, Vinny?
And you can tell by the picture, that was me before I shaved, but just anyways, side story. Okay, home factor. So monthly payment and cost, right? Pricing right now, based on the time that you're watching right now, have gone up. But you focus on the monthly payment, right? So you're focusing on what that comfortability level is for that monthly payment, all right? That's going to make it more palatable. Location of home. It can vary. Do you want it to be close by your work? Okay. Do you want it to be at your work? So you just kind of walk outside and kind of start your day, right? So figuring out what's your ideal situation right there. And then appreciation outlook, right? There's this word that I love to say, gentrification, right? So you're talking about growth potential in a community right there. So
Had to throw that word in there.
Right. So, and looking at understanding the property, right? Okay. Well, maybe this might not as be appealing if I went a couple miles away, but I can buy this property that's a little bit bigger than maybe something a couple miles away that's going to be a little more expensive, maybe a little bit smaller. So understanding, okay, what am I looking to accomplish with this property? And then rental versus investment, right? Are you going to be paying someone else's mortgage or your own mortgage? And understanding kind of what the difference is. Because if you have a drastically low rent, right? Then maybe it doesn't make financial sense for you to buy. If you're getting some kind of stealing of a deal, then maybe you hold off for a couple of years, put that excess away into some kind of savings account, and then purchase down the road.
The extra profit.
Gonna go?
Yeah. Vinny, that was so key that you mentioned that because a lot of you out there don't know there's a weird term Vinny mentioned was low, cheap rent. So for those of you who actually have low, cheap rent in San Diego, save your money and invest at a compound interest rate return because almost no one here has low, cheap rent. But besides all that, Vinny touched on a lot of important things. He's going to circle back and go over some other more important factors as well when you dive into working with your realtor. But to go back to some more boring things with the loan things, let's also look at what are you going to save for your down payment? What do you have? Your interest rate, closing costs, long-term costs. A lot of people ask, what's closing costs? What's long-term costs? Buying a home always has constant repairs. It's not a free ride. That's why you want to choose wisely the first time. Avoiding speed bumps. Now, this is going to be an interesting thing. We're going to have Vinny jump up here too as we go into this, because this is actually a unique environment where everyone has horror stories about loans. Have you heard those before, Vinny? Have you heard-
Hear them all the time. So
they go sideways?
the simple analogy of using this is that your lender, right, is your attorney, okay, and the underwriter, the person that makes the final decision with the bank, is like the judge. He's trying to build a case why you should be able to buy a property. And so if you're thinking in your head, I'm not going to tell my attorney why I ran over that person. Oh, that never happened. They're going to find out. They have a camera.
Man, was he drinking?
They're going to find out, right? So you want to tell your attorney every little aspect. Now, if they're saying, oh, well, you know what? The lender that I'm talking to is not asking me a lot of questions. Well, they're going to ask you questions later on. Yeah, problem, right? So the questions that are coming up here, okay, low and bad, we lost the house, all that kind of stuff, it can be resolved if you're as honest as possible with the lender. Hopefully, right? You're talking to David, right? But if you're talking to any lender out there, make sure they're asking you questions about your file, right? Because if they're not asking you now, the underwriters are going to ask you for it, or they're going to ask you once you actually get it in contract.
You know, to look at it this way, if you lent me $100, would you forget? If you lent me $1,000, would you forget? No one's forgetting when you owe them money. We're lending you a couple $100,000. We're going to find out everything. Be open and honest with the person you're working with, because we will find out. It's always better to know ahead of time than 2 weeks into the contract when it blows up in your face. So be open, be honest. We are going to notice everything. You don't want to hear these things about now you got to add a cosigner, now you need more money, now you got to open a trade line. You know, all these things are bad. Or I lost my EMD because my realtor was a dummy and so was my lender. Dumb. Don't make these mistakes. Question. Someone in the audience asked what EMD is. Well, it's actually not a cheesy band from, I think, rap band from the 90s. Was that EMD?
Run DMC?
No, that's Run DMC. So EMD is earnest money deposit. For those of you out there in internet world, earnest money deposit, we'll jump into that with Vinny as well. It's the amount of money that you're putting up front when you write a contract to show that you have skin in the game to purchase that person's house. It averages around 1%. Now, I'm not that good in math, but if you buy a house for $900,000, 1% is $9,000. You got to have money. Loan types. Let's jump into a couple different loan types. This we'll go through because there's a lot of talk now. There was the California Nightmare Program, DREAM Act. That was interesting. I'm throwing that out there because it's going to come back again. We're going to go into real loans right now. There's FHA, conventional, VA, jumbo. Basically, there's a loan for everyone. But you can't leave every loan alone. So I'm saying that because every loan is different for your situation. And some of you may have 3.5% down. Some of you may have 3%. Some may have 10. Some may have 5. Everything on your loan is going to be based off what you had as credit, income, assets, job history, all together combined with purchase price. So your lender should be going over all the options with you. If your lender comes back to you and goes, I'm sorry, there's only one loan for you. That's all that exists. They probably didn't review all the options. Or maybe you are limited and maybe you need to build a better loan file so you have more options later. So make sure all your loans are discussed with you by your lender. Your realtor will probably touch on some of this too, because Vinny, do all properties take VA loans and FHA loans? And is there certain sorts of problems with properties and loans?
That is a really good question, young man.
Wow.
Now, really based on the property, it's livability, right? That's the variance between the different properties, right? So you have the VA, FHA, right? They want to make sure there's a livability standard that's abided by on the property, right? So flooring, the roof, just different kind of things of livability standard, working stove, heat source, right? So whatever that might be, that livability standard is going to vary based off the loan type. So it's going to be a little bit easier on conventional, relative to VA or FHA, right? Now, but are those 203K repair escrows, right? So you can do the FHA loan, can fix the property up and purchase the property. So understanding the differences on it, you sometimes see it on properties that are above right 800 or so, right? You'll see realtors, even if they're in good condition, not put VA loans except on this property, right? So just be aware of that. Talk to your realtor, but it's really about the livability standards for your different property types. Also, if you're talking about an attached property, it can vary too for VA, FHA. The community has to be approved, but there are spot approvals that can happen for that. Again, not all lenders are going to be aware of that. So just understanding the process, talking to your lender and asking questions. If your lender yells at you for asking questions or your realtor yells at you for asking questions, you probably need a new person. You might not be able to see back there some phone numbers. Give us a call and we can kind of help you out. We're not going to yell at you. Well, maybe a little bit, but for the most part, not going to yell at you.
And we have a question pop in. A lot of people ask, I want to buy land and build my own house like Goldilocks or Gingerbread Story, whatever. So the question is can you buy land now and build your own house and do everything and build it up? Yes, that is going now. You can even buy the land, put a modular home onto it or a manufactured home onto it and build up the renovations one time with construction. It's called a one-time close. Thank you for your question. Make sure you get that all the time, Vinny. Now, everyone asks about buying land and building their own house.
Yeah.
Very, very. Let's just be clear for the record.
I watch a lot of HGTV.
Yes, buying open space land and building your own home from scratch is a very bad idea for 98% of the population. Okay. First-time homebuyer grants. Yes, do we have them? We do. We'll touch on this really quick, not to be boring, but there's a lot of Cal HFA grants, Golden State Finance grants, teachers, first responder, different grants. And my favorite, the USDA loan. Now, for those of you who are wondering, USDA, is that a stake? Yes, it is. But it's also a loan as well that's in certain rural areas. And there are areas in San Diego that your realtor can place you in to use 100% financing on it. But only certain realtors are probably going to fall into the qualified market to be able to do that for you. Gift funds. Everyone likes gifts. I like presents. If you guys want to send me presents, I'm good with it. We can take gift funds from family members, churches, your employer. But you know where we cannot get gift funds from? Your realtor or your lender can never give you money. So don't ask them. And we don't use cash. If you have $10,000 in your coffee can at home and you're saving it for a rainy day and then you want to buy a house, guess what? You're not using it. That money has to be in the bank. Be very careful how you deposit money in the bank. Be very careful of keeping cash at home.
Now, if you think you're smarter than basically our financing in the U.S., you're probably off a little bit. So if you're thinking, hey, you know what? I just robbed a bank. I got a lot of money. I'm gonna give it to my friend. They're gonna give it to me as a gift.
You robbed the bank again, Vinny?
They need a track record of where that money comes from, right? So if someone's giving you money, they're gonna have to give you a track record of where they got the money from.
So please don't rob any banks. That's a really bad idea. Let's stay away from that.
You learned nothing else today.
You learned nothing else today. Do not rob banks. Question.
Going back to loans, since thinking about business owners who may or may not W-2 themselves, what have you seen in your experience as far as loans worked best for
So-
entrepreneurs?
The question from the crowd is, for people that have their own businesses, people who are self-employed, people who have S Corp, C Corps, everyone comes with an LLC too. We get those a lot. Our sole proprietorship. Yes, those are actually great ways to run your business from a more profitable standpoint. And a lot of people on their taxes look at it and go, hey, my CPA wrote off everything. So I made $200,000 this year, but my tax return says I made 20 grand, which means I now can't get a loan. So does that mean it's the end of everything? No, we do loans now off what's called cash flow analysis, which is evaluating the cash flows over 12-month terms and 24-month terms. So those are very unique if you want to avoid paying taxes, the way you structure your tax returns. Now, if you're going to sit down with a lender, first off, your lender should actually go through your taxes and should help you form a plan to go, well, what's more important? Is it showing more income now to get a better interest rate, better loan, and better home? Or is it more important to you to write off all your money and go off a bank statement loan? That's why it's important to go through options with people. It's also why it's important that if you sit down with a lender to go through strategy planning sessions, to do your taxes accordingly to your long and short-term goals. You're welcome. So this next slide, you can email Vinny, text Vinny. I did this as just a quick outlook. It's 92117, that's in Claremont. Median home price is $900,000. I mention this because everyone out there says, oh, real estate's not the best way to make money. Well, there's not a best way to do anything. There's a lot of great ways to do things. So we're just presenting you great ways to do stuff today. And a great way to make money is buying a home because of leverage. So for the last 63 years, average median home price in 92117 has gone up 5.3%. The last 5 years, it's gone up 7%. This is a great way for you to leverage making money because for those of you out there, how many of you can save 100 grand in a year or 30,000 in a year? Very difficult. But if you did the math really easy, if you bought a house for 700,000 and it went up 5% per year, you made 35 grand. So this is just to show you how you can make money with real estate and how you can leverage it. Oh, Vinny, this is the cost of waiting. You want to jump up here and take a look at this? So a lot of people come out. I'm going to talk before Vinny jumps over and goes, oh, I'm going to wait to buy a home. I'm just going to keep waiting. And this is Claremont, 92117, at the average home price of $990 and going up, small percentages per year. You see that, Vinny? See how conservative this is? Look at this. You see this? 0.4. Very conservative numbers here. 0.2, 0.9, and 8%. So cost of waiting is how long do you wait to buy your house? And so, Vinny, could you help us out with a little bit of pricing history about San Diego and real estate prices and waiting?
All right, so I'm gonna give you something to think about. All right.
That's such a neat data analysis tool.
All right. So everyone, just tell me when I hit the bottom.
You at the bottom.
Tell me when I hit the bottom. Right. Right. The thing is, you're not going to be able to predict when we hit the bottom. Right. We've gone down based off the time you're watching in July 2022. Right. To November. Right. 2022. Right. We went down by roughly 12%. Okay. We went down by roughly 12%. Now we're going back up some about 7-8%. Okay. Since that time frame. Right. So we've already kind of gone back up. Right. So people that are saying, oh, well, you know what? I'm waiting for the market to crash or correct. We might have already saw that happen during the holidays right there. So understanding when we're talking about the cost of waiting right there, if you're waiting for that idea of that, hey, I'm going to wait for the market to correct and then I'm going to look to purchase, look at what's kind of happened over the last 6 months, year, 2 years, 3 years. Now, it goes back to something that I said originally. It's about that monthly payment, that affordability, right? If you can afford the payment, it doesn't matter if the market does go down. And mind you, again, we're in this market right now with really, really, really low inventory, right? That it's pretty. To give you an idea, at the beginning of COVID, we thought we had really low inventory, and we were at 4,300 properties in San Diego County. We're right now under 1,900 properties in San Diego County. So we thought we were low at 4,200, and we're less. We're less than that.
What's the population of San Diego County?
I don't know. Yeah.
3.6 million.
3.6 million. Okay. So that's food for thought. So if you're thinking that I'm going to wait for the future, right? Let's say the market does correct one of these days, right? Hypothetically, something happens. We get so much inventory or new builds pop up on the market and all that kind of happens, which we'd have to see that work. Let's say that happened. If you can hold that property and afford that monthly payment, it doesn't matter what the property is worth today, tomorrow. It only matters when you sell the property.
Vinny, how long should I average hold my house for?
Well, isn't the average person they 5-7 years? I mean,
Yeah.
I mean 5-7 years. But if you're okay with being a landlord, right, then you keep the property and purchase another property, right? If that monthly payment is doable, that's what matters. And if you hold it for 5 years, more than likely you're going to go up. You're going to get more value than you have today. Now we can't promise maybe you're going to hold it 10 years because there's never been a 10-year time frame in San Diego or in the United States, right, where it's actually been less than 10 years ago. So every 10 years, right, if you're at least able to hold it for 10 years, historically, it's always going to be a higher price.
So the slide right behind Vinny, I mentioned this is because this was the appreciation on buying a house in Claremont with 5% down. Give me 5. Give me 5. All right. So 5% down. So what Vinny mentioned is, yes, you should be owning a home for a minimum 7 years. Our 5 years is where a lot of people move in and out of things. So just to play a conservative aspect, if you bought a house for $990 in Claremont, you put down 5%. As you can see, years 1 through 4 is very tough because the market hasn't adjusted yet. But after that, it starts going up and up and up. So buying real estate's a long-term game. And all this can be done, all the appreciation rates historically not forecasted. We can all do historical rates and forecast it for you if you want it on any particular house. But buying real estate is a long-term game. It's a minimum 7 to 10 year hold to make real good money. Closing costs. Okay, we'll go through this really simple and easy so you guys don't get bored. Closing costs, do they exist? Yes. Can your realtor negotiate them? Yes. Vinny, is it hard to negotiate closing costs on a house right now with the current market?
Every market is different. You could be watching this in 2026 and not going to be saying, oh, we got an abundance of inventory out there. And you know what? We can ask the seller to give us some closing cost credit. It really varies on the property. If you're under roughly about probably $2 million, right, it's going to be fairly hard to ask for closing costs. If you're above that, then the market does change based off of the community, based off the pricing. If you would have talked to us during the holidays, we could have got you a 2-1 buy down on one of those programs because it was a lot easier at that time because it wasn't as crazy as a market that we currently have right now. So food for thought. Every market's different. By the time you watch this video, it could be totally different. But right now, it's very difficult.
So, Vinny, you're saying 6 months ago the market was different than now?
Yes.
No way.
It ebbs and flows. So it goes back to that original talking point that we talked about with David, where he said, the average realtor is selling about 4 deals a year, right? And when I went back to it, we're 70%, well, 20% of that 70% only sell 1 deal, but the other 50% didn't sell anything. So you got to think that if the last deal that they sold was 6 months ago, they might think it's a slow market, right? But if they would have last deal was in the last July, they might think it's a hot market, right? If this last deal was last week, then they know it's a hot market, right? So understanding how they perceive the market is going to help you understand how to put your offer together.
Thanks, Vinny, for pointing that out. So to circle back, closing costs, they exist. If you just want a simple mathematical formula, use 2.25% of the purchase price. That's about your average closing cost, just to be safe, conservative number. And like Vinny mentioned, 6 months ago, you could get your closing costs negotiated for you. Now, not happening. It's very rare. Could it happen? Of course it could. But it's a much smaller chance because inventory is so low. Decision time. Are you ready to pull the trigger? So me and Vinny mentioned this already. Minimum hold time for owning a house is 5 to 7 years. In the area you're buying, is this the right investment for you? Once again, talk to your realtor, do the research, make sure you're buying in that area for your goals, whether your goal was how much will the home appreciate, what are the schools rated, what's the rental rate, what's the crime rate, depending on your goals. And does owning this house still allow you to live comfortably and safe for your future and your retirement? Because having extra cash and planning on things going wrong is what you should be doing, because they always do. And after you pay your mortgage, do you still have a life? What goes into closing costs? Oh, why did I do that backwards? Okay. So I hit the wrong side. My mistake. I had big fat thumbs. So we talked about the right lender. How do you pick the right realtor? I'm going to let Vinny jump up here and discuss this because he is a realtor and he deals with a lot of realtors on a regular basis. And 80% of realtors are having an interesting time.
Okay, so let's just go over these right here, okay? Check their online reviews. It's really simple this day and age to basically just put someone's name into Google, right? And you'll see kind of what comes up there. Right? For the most part, they're going to have positive. If they have no reviews, then you want to figure out why that is, right? Maybe they're brand new to the business. And just understand that's nothing wrong with that, right? Just understand what you're working with, right? Going to the next one, license number, right? The lower the number, right, the longer they've been in the business for. Again, nothing wrong with that. It's understanding who you're working with. That's fine, right? Do they work full-time or part-time? Again, there's a lot of people in this industry that work part-time. So just again, nothing wrong with that, but understand what you're getting, right? People go to Starbucks because they understand what they're getting, right? If you go to the coffee shop down the street and you get X, Y, and Z, a mocha latte, whatever, right? It's something new. Understand you might be on an adventure trying a new place out, right? But it might be great, right? So just understand what you're looking to get right there. Do they own a home themselves, right? Now,
Do they own an investment property themselves?
do they own an investment property though? It's nothing wrong with that. Understanding the situation that they're in, right? If they're telling you, you have to buy today, it's the best time to buy today, right?
Buy.
Buy, right? And they're pushing this on you, but they haven't bought from themselves. Again, nothing wrong with that. Understand what's their situation, right?
I think there's something wrong with that.
Okay. Well, whatever the situation is, but just understanding, right? Just because they're your brother's cousin, relative, whatever it might be, doesn't necessarily mean, right, that all realtors, all lenders, all coaches, right, are the same. So understand what you're getting yourself into. How many homes do they really sell a year? Again, if they're under that 70%, right, of realtors, maybe they've only selling one, right? So there's a higher likelihood that they sell less than more. And experience matters, right? Ideally, you want someone that can help you out through the tough times, giving you advice on the market, giving you advice on the situation, because properties are selling at a different list to sold, right? So if you would again talk to us during the holidays, you would have known that a lot of properties are selling under list right there, all right? Also, if you talk to us now, you're going to know that a lot of properties are selling above. I mean, and I'll give you an example.
Could you go over that?
Well-
please? What does above mean?
So if a property is listed at 100,000 and it sells basically at 108,000, it's sold at 8% above list. It listed at 100,000 and it sold at 96, it sold at 96% list. And to give you an example, we closed a property last week. Okay, if you're watching this live, last week, and we closed that property at 150,000 above list. Okay, now we just went under contract on a property 2 weeks ago, and we got under contract at 140,000 roughly under list, right? That's a big difference, right? It's a big difference right there. So understanding what the property is worth, what you're looking to accomplish, what that monthly payment is, and the only way you're going to find that out is by having the right realtor to kind of guide you through that process.
Okay, so I just want to touch on that real quick because Vinny brings up a lot of good points about that. And the market's always shifting and changing. And the fact that your realtor should be able to talk to you and say, no, you should pass on this house. No, this is not a good deal for you. No, this is not good. You want a realtor who's actually going to tell you no, and you want a lender who's going to tell you no, because that means they're working for your best interest and they're not just working for their commission check. What to consider in your first home purchase. So this is a massively important slide. Some of the most important slides on here, one of them, everyone always asked, was closing costs. We now know that's 2.25% of the purchase price. But what to consider in buying your first house. So Vinny, what do you think some of the most important things about people buying their first house?
So the top three here: neighborhood, schools, appreciation, rental value, turnover ratio.
I love that.
Understanding what you're looking to accomplish with this home purchase is going to allow you to be fully open to the process, right? Understanding, okay, well, I have a child, or I'm going to have a child, and I want to be in a good school district. Understanding what you feel comfortable on that monthly payment, right? Understanding kind of how you want your day, your week, your month to look, right? If you're looking that, hey, I just want to walk outside and be downtown, well, then you probably got to be downtown, right? But if that's not your ideal goal, if it's really about the schools, it's about basically the layout of the property, how big of a property, how many bedrooms, then that's your goal. So understanding, okay, how am I going to list the different topics? Because what happens is once you actually get out there, people buy off emotion. They walk in the property and go, oh my goodness, I can see myself living here. This is my home right there. And what happens is, if it's outside your budget, it's outside basically what you're looking to accomplish, sometimes you go, you know what? I don't really need that stuff. I don't need that stuff.
Vinny, do people always look over their budget and go over their prices?
Sometimes, if you're not working with the right realtor, sometimes that does happen. But understanding what your budget is, understanding what you're looking to accomplish, and figuring out, okay, this is the best for me. So understanding what you're looking to accomplish is going to be immense throughout the process before you even start the process, right? So, if you, again, this is something that we do during our buyer's consult. So if you have any questions, 858-345-7829.
Boom. Thanks for touching on that, Vinny. And Vinny didn't say his favorite, well, two of his favorite sayings. So you didn't get either one of them there. He didn't talk about gentrification, and he didn't talk about comfortable monthly payment. And most people look at homes and then they're online. They're like, oh my golly, Wally, I love that home. That's $100,000 over my price range. But you won't love the payment. Remember the monthly payment. It's super crucial. Home buying process. So shop for houses. After we shop for houses and I really love a house, what do I do?
All right, so
Big green buttons. Changed.
Beep, boop, bop. Okay, anyways.
Used to be yellow and black.
So take a look at the property, assess the property. Once you actually know this is the property that we want to go forward with, what we're going to do is put together comps to understand the market, understand what's going on currently in this market, and how we want to submit our offer, how we want our contingencies to play out, right? Now from there, we're going to submit our offer over to the other side. Now, the other side can accept it outright. They can set a singular counter or multiple counter or outright reject it, right? For the most part, they're not going to outright reject it unless basically they got some drastically over asking on the pricing or the terms don't look that great, whatever it might be. Ideally, we're going to try to get acceptance or some sort of counter. And from there, it comes back to us. We're going to negotiate to figure out how we can have a meeting of the mind and go forward with it. Once we go forward with that property, we're going to open up escrow. Escrow is going to send over documentation about how to wire your earnest money deposit. We already talked about that.
What's escrow?
Escrow is a third-party entity and it's a time frame. Okay, so understanding that they're going to oversee the process and the window of time. Escrow could take 20 to 30 days, sometimes 15 days, sometimes even less, right? So escrow and the company are going to oversee the process going forward. During that process, what's going to happen is we're going to get disclosure from the side, understand what the property is going on, right? Maybe like 200 and some disclosures. We're going to do an inspection on the property. You don't have to do an inspection, but I would suggest do an inspection, okay? And then you're going to have your lender have an appraisal on the property to assess to make sure that the property is worth the price that you got accepted on the property, okay? Those are all going to go simultaneously while your lender.
Look at this. Vinny mentioned appraisal ordered step 6. Perfect timing, Vinny.
Oh, appraisal
amazing,
order.
my friend. You are amazing.
Appraisal order, inspection order, and home ownership, right? Throughout that process too, you're going to be getting more documentation from your lender. Your lender is going to go, hey, I need a question on this aspect. I need a question on that aspect. And that's where you're going to provide more information. Now, maybe you got one of those lenders that was like, hey, you look good. I like your hair. I like your look. You're approved, right? There's some lenders out there that do that, right? So, but David's not one of those people, right? But if you did get one of those lenders, what's going to happen now is they're going to ask you for all this documentation. You're going to get overwhelmed. But for the most part, a lender like David is going to ask for all that documentation beforehand. So when you're in the process, it's going to be a little bit less of clarification to get to the underwriter to go forward with the deal. And then when it does all lined up, here's the keys. Hey, welcome to your new home. Enjoy life.
I don't think I've ever seen an easier process ever, Vinny, the way you explain that, my friend. This is utterly amazing. Like, this is so simple, even a caveman could do it. That's actually not true. But Vinny, thanks for pointing out the steps. Vinny broke it down very simply because he is a very good realtor, and most realtors are not. And you really need to make sure you're working with someone good so that the process goes smooth and efficient like this. Loan process. So this isn't as much fun as Vinny's area, but we're going to mention this because Vinny touched on it. Loan process, once you're under escrow, that means your contract open. You're officially going to buy the house. We're going to look at your paperwork once again, just to double check it's correct. We're going to submit it to underwriting. We're going to make sure your loan meets all the parameters and guidelines to fit to lend you the money. Then we're going to give you a loan approval. At loan approval, we'll go back to you, request a couple more items, very normal. As long as your pre-approval was done correctly up front, your loan approval should be very simple and sweet with minimal conditions. If you lied about anything and you hid stuff and you thought we're not going to figure it out, this is where we will find everything and your life becomes a nightmare with trying to explain things. So please be open and honest about what you have and what you don't have. And then finally, after the loan approval, we do a clear to close. We order loan docs. We made this simple. It just went to straight loan funded, which, we cut out some of the steps to save your time. After loan approval, we go to signing loan documents with the notary and the loan funds, and you own the house. Boom, done. Pretty simple. All right. Magic. During the home buying process, while the loan's being processed, there's a lot of things you and your realtor are going to be doing, which are very important. And Vinny's going to touch on this, but is everyone honest when they tell you what's wrong with the house, Vinny?
No.
No.
That's why you have your checkup. Something you got to think about, right? No person is perfect, just like no property is perfect, right? You want to make sure it's perfect for you, right? So when
That was
you
good. You see that? Did you see how good that was right there?
so just like all of us are not perfect people, right? We go to the doctors, right? We do get a general checkup, right? The doctor's going to say, hey, you know what? Your knee, I want to get a specialist to take a look at that knee because it looks a little off right there, right? We're going to send a specialist. Just like that happens, the same thing happens with a home inspection, right? Is a general checkup on the property to assess that property and see, okay, what are the issues with the property? And am I okay with these issues going forward with this property, right? So assessing the whole property. And then from there, once we get a full assessment of the property, that's where we're going to go to the other side and say, hey, you know what? We want you to take care of X, Y, and Z. Or they'll say, we won't take care of that, but we'll take care of this. Or we'll give you credit for this. Whatever it might be, it becomes a meeting of the minds. Now, if there's not a meeting of the minds or something really crazy is going on with this property, don't worry. You should have some contingencies in place to back out and get your EMD. Now, this is, again, when you're negotiating the offer, these were choices you had about your contingencies to back out, to extend it, whatever it might be. So think about that when you're originally putting your offer in, and talk to your realtor. And if you don't have a realtor, of course, you know who to call. And if you do have a realtor, just talk to that realtor.
I was going to interject, you know who to call. It's not Ghostbusters, it's your realtor. Just full disclosure. Boom, done. 45 minutes, people. We made it as simple as possible for you. Questions, concerns, reach out to us. We're here to help. We're long-term people. We're not short-term. And we know it's important that you guys want to grow everything from growing your business to growing your wealth to growing everything around your life, because buying a home is a great way to get you better in life. But one of the better things in life is to make sure that you have money coming in, excess money, passive income, things that you can invest long-term, and that you have great mental health and physical health. So we're not just here to sell you things. We're here to improve your overall quality of life.
All right, so we're going to just finish it off. Julie's going to tell you how to reach her. For myself, 858-345-7829. Vinny.
Thank you. Thank you both for having me. It was wonderful to be a special guest. And thanks to everybody for participating today. And for those of you that are watching the recording, I hope you got some really great tips. Call your experts. This is a community, and that's what this is all about. So everybody that has your best interest in mind and understanding, where do you want to be, where do you want to go, and how can we be your partners to help you get there. So if you are interested in learning more about how to grow your business, how to make more of an impact, then my number is here as well, but it's 619-361-8501, or my website is jsgactioncoach.com. And we all hope to hear from you soon. Hope you got some great tips, and thank you.
And just as a side note, for everyone that thinks, oh, I don't need a coach. Oh, I'm already a starter player. I hate to break the news to you, but every single successful person in every single avenue of business, life, sports, they all have coaches. Because you may think, I think I'm pretty good at dressing myself with matching my clothes, but my wife tells me I'm a complete retard with that. So I need to coach somebody. Somebody has to coach me on fixing my clothes. But business coaches and things like that is going to help you get to another level. So if you don't think you need help, you're probably the person that needs help.